Hi there, my lovelies. So I know it's been a very long time since I did a video, and I am very glad to say that I am back for a very nice one, hopefully for this one. Um, I purposely wanted to do something for October, as you can guess, the spookiest month of the year, but this month basically got away with me, from me pretty quickly thanks to working a bunch. And I'm not gonna lie, I just did not get to the schedule that I wanted to do. I think that happened to a lot of people this month, honestly, where it just kind of slipped out of our hands where we weren't paying attention like we should have been. But I did want to do something for you guys that would be a little bit more substantial for the spooky month. I'm going to start off the first half by doing some, just let's say, in my opinion, I am going to name off quite a few, in the beginning half at least, family friendly horror films for you guys to be able to check out during the spooky, month that's, almost upon us of Halloween being right around the corner and all. Um, I also am going to get, after a little bit into this, more into adult horror films slash my personal favorites for different categories or genres, I guess, if you want to go with that. We're gonna go ahead and discuss my personal childhood favorites. I also have where we can talk about my favorite ghost movies, my favorite witch movies, my favorite demon movies, my favorite devil movies, and yes, I do feel like there is a difference in quality of films that I'm going to be suggesting on those two categories, so that's why there's two. Monster, werewolf, zombie, and vampire, at least, we're going to discuss. I got a couple of other stuff in here that we can talk about. I did want to do quite a few days. I was planning on doing 31 days, guys. One video a day, where each one of these would have been a little bit easier to digest, but like I said, the month got away from me. We're going to do this in one sitting. I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible to digest all of these, but let's go ahead and, in my opinion, I'm going to give you some films to watch to get you in the spooky mood for this upcoming Halloween. And by the way, guys, remember to stay safe during this Halloween, stay smart, and above all else, enjoy your holiday. Alright, so let's start off with my personal childhood favorites. You can't guess, one of them is my hoodie. Gremlins is kind of this weird film that, even though it's a Christmas film as well, it is technically put into the horror category because of it's a creature feature. Personally, I have a soft spot for it because my first ever stuffed animal was a gizmo, and I still have it. No judgment on anybody, okay? Some of us keep stuff, okay? I have some very, very important memorabilia that I still have of my childhood stuff. Leave me alone. Anyhow, Hocus Pocus is another one that's personal childhood, had to watch every single Halloween. I don't think I had a Halloween where I didn't watch Hocus Pocus. Honest truth. I'm really gonna age myself and really just make myself look silly, but I liked this one a lot, and people can look at me wrong for it, I don't care. But this was a Mary-Kate and Ashley film called Double Double Toying Trouble. Came out in 93, and I absolutely adored it. It was kind of a spookier one, for the Mary-Kate and Ashley films, because I'm gonna admit it, I was a Mary-Kate and Ashley kid. I watched those films. I liked those movies. I'm a dork, I know. Of course, Nightmare Before Christmas, because let's face it, it is a Halloween and a Christmas movie, and I will watch it on both, okay? Judge me, I don't care on that one. Anyhow, Halloween Town is also, the entire series, I really have to watch that, every Halloween. But also, I don't really like the older ones. I'm kind of more the first two, maybe the third one as well, where I'll watch them. And like as soon as it gets more towards the high school times, I start to lose. Like I love the main character. I love her to death. And when they replaced her character, I almost didn't watch the film. And I had seen every movie up until that point. So that had to tell you something. She wasn't a horrible actress, but her acting in that film was her atrocious. I'm sorry. Ridiculous. I'm just gonna move on because that no. Another family friendly one is Casper, the Addams Family, all the films of the Addams Family. Um, Goosebumps is a wonderful like series to show your kids that's a little less spooky, but also keep in mind there are some episodes which that actually is part of my next category I'm going to talk about where it's you know movies or shows that are meant for kids, but it just gave off a more spooky vibe than they were supposed to. But the more friendly one is, and my personal favorite, because it teaches you actually what Halloween is about. And it teaches you in a historical way, going throughout history, which is called the Halloween Tree. And that one came out in 93 as well, but it has more of a late 80s drawing style and it is in animation. So keep in mind some of the animation is a little bit more creepy. Like it went definitely for a more darker theme. And it's got very heartwarming story in my opinion. And I think it really does teach kids a wonderful way of learning about Halloween. So, if you have little ones, you can watch that film first and see if you approve of it for your children. I understand entirely. Because, like I said, it has more of a historical telling of Halloween. So, it goes throughout many religions and many historical events that led to what we know as Halloween. So, it's a wonderful, in my opinion, film. The next category, like I said, is films that were meant for kids, but were a little just too creepy. Let's start off with The Witches, which was remade not too long ago with Anne Hathaway. It's a good film in every aspect. Don't get me wrong, but if this film is truly meant for kids, my goodness, why are you trying to give them nightmares? Because the creatures, the new ones, it kind of pulls you away because they look too unreal, but I'm personally a very big advocate towards practical effects and practical makeup versus like prosthetics. Prosthetics make more sense to me where it's a practical way of doing the character than a CG. So that's just my opinion. But I like the older one for that. Also, I feel like the actress who played the main witch, and I like Anne Hathaway. I really actually do, because in a lot of people's opinion, they didn't like her in Batman, and I liked her as Catwoman. Hate me if you want. I don't care. But in this one, it wasn't that she didn't play the character well. She played the character fantastically. Fantastically, but nobody played that character like the original woman who did. And you want to know who I'm talking about? Go watch the film. Go look up the people. Go enjoy. I am not going to give you all the information on all of these because there are far too many. We'd be here too long. Okay? Any of these films, just go ahead and check them out, guys. I am not going to be a replacement for watching a film ever. I don't think any reviewer is ever a replacement for watching, hi baby, for watching a film. I think you should experience said film. My girl. I dropped my vape for you. Worth it. Want down, baby? Got it? Okay. Sorry. My cat wanted attention. She still does. So, anyhow, my last one is The Labyrinth. Actually, I think I have a couple more because I didn't actually talk about two. I will say The Labyrinth. It's more or less not that it has very much to do with anything outrageous that, like, story-wise. I mean, it does have to do with a guy who steals a baby to grant a wish to a girl because she doesn't want to deal with her little brother she's babysitting. But a lot of that, like, people say that the labyrinth is supposed to just be inside of this girl's head because she's got a very vivid imagination. Um, I don't really disbelieve that with when you watch the ending because all the characters suddenly appear in a room. So, what was it possible that she imagined her favorite, story? Because if you actually watch the movie, you'll see she's doing a play. Maybe she just imagined it all. It's kind of crazy to think about it if it's that. So, yeah. It's kind of like The Sixth Sense where, like he is what he is. If you watched it, I'm not, guess, spoiling a very, very old film at this point. Anyhow, Coraline. Oh my god, I almost didn't say her name right. Which, okay, there's many reasons why that is just. Have you seen The Other Mother? Like, Other Mother is terrifying. Like, not to mention the other children. Like, there's literally 3 children that are. They're ghosts. Like, how is that a kid's film? But anyhow, that's kind of why I also wanted to bring up my next, which is probably the most common, in my opinion, done horror movie, which is ghost-themed horror movies. Like, I think everybody's gonna probably say The Shining is their favorite, and it is the probably best done film when it comes to ghosts that I've ever seen. And I even love Doctor Sleep. Like, Doctor Sleep is a fantastic, even done, like, the film, the way he recreates some of the shots, yet the exact same thing as he had in The Shining, are amazing. And I think they only repeated one scene from the original. One scene? Like, there's a lot of flashbacks. Like, anyhow, so that is probably, like, my favorite series of ghost films. The Others is probably my favorite, story when it comes to ghosts. Because it's just, I'm sorry, guys, if you haven't seen these films. I'm hoping that these are a lot for most people, just going to be films that you watch for the nostalgia of Halloween. But I guess I'm a little bit older now, so some of these films maybe people haven't seen that they just never were, like, aware of in their life. So hopefully I'm giving you something to enjoy this Halloween. It Follows was a 2014 film that was pretty crazy, ghost themed wise. At least that's what some people categorize it as. I honestly believe that it's a euphemism for sexually transmitted diseases. In other words, it's something that would follow you for the rest of your life and you could give to your partner and could come back to you, and you get what I mean? Like, there's just a lot in that film, and it's a really good film to just try to wrap your head around. So, if you haven't seen It Follows, go check that out. If so, what are you doing? That's a 2014. Guys, think about that math. Anyhow, in 1999, Sixth Sense, I think everybody should watch The Sixth Sense because it's just one that it has such subtle hints that leads you to the actual conclusion of the film that if you watch from the very get-go, you'll see the things that M. Night put in there that you were supposed to be paying attention, but you were distracted. So if you're watching it for like a second, third, 100th time this Halloween, try to actually see if you can catch every single one of them. Because it's actually kind of fun to try. Silent Hill. most people don't even realize that that's actually a ghost, technically, horror film. I love it for the sense of for the fact that it is a horror film that's based on a video game. It is done in a very well paced way that you don't feel that you're ever having like what you do with cutscenes where they just drag on for far too long with too much like dialogue or action or anything like that. I do feel like the later films kind of got away from themselves a little bit. If that makes sense, like I feel that I don't know. The second one, even the video game itself, wasn't exactly, in my opinion, as good as the first. I'm sorry, I said it. I'm not really big on the second video game, but that's okay. Very few people probably remember the second game. Another good one that is a ghost one is House on Haunted Hill. Now, two reasons. One, I am talking about the original that was quite a bit older, that people are very few are probably going to even know about what I'm talking about, that has absolutely no blood. People die in that film, keep in mind. But not a single drop of blood is ever shown, and rattlings against the wall, bangs, noises, things not seen, are more terrifying than anything else. But then you also have the 1999 one. Now, I'm not going to lie. I love a good bloodbath. I really do. There's even a scene with a giant tub of blood where somebody actually gets pulled into it and almost drowned. So, you want a good unsuspecting horror movie that's going to throw you for a loop a little bit? Go watch House on Haunted Hill. I promise you won't be disappointed. So, my favorite witch-themed ones are up next. I gotta say Blair Witch is probably gonna be everybody's favorite witch film. I can't blame anybody on that. Blair Witch is kind of like a staple. Like, if you watch, you want to be scared, you're gonna watch Blair Witch on Halloween. It just makes sense. But also for another good witch film, go watch Practical Magic. It actually has a wonderful love story, betrayal, murder, so much supernatural stuff. Go check it out. It's a 1998. It's got Nicole Kidman and I believe, who else was it? Julia Roberts, I believe, was the other character. That's the main. They are sisters that are witches, and they are wonderful together. Or no, it was Sandra Bullock, wasn't it? I cannot remember. I think it was Sandra Bullock, maybe. I just remember it was Nicole Kidman, because she looked good in that film. Another good one from 87 was Witches of Eastwick. If you don't know what that film is, please just go watch it. It is a wonderful one. I'm not going to spoil a single thing, because I think that one needs to be watched in its entirety and just enjoyed. I will give you one thing about the Witches of Eastwick. It's technically also one that could have fallen under The Devil. It almost was, but I love the three witches just because they are just done taking anybody's bowl, and they just... There's a girl power moment and you'll understand when you watch it, so go watch it. The Craft, which is a 96 film. The reason I love The Craft, most people don't know this, is when they film The Craft, it's actually done in a proper pagan ritual. Everything in the film is actually properly to the art of the craft. To the degree that during one of the ceremonies that they recorded, they had some stuff happen to them. If you watch the behind the scenes features, you'll get to see some of that. Uh, One of the actresses ended up having where she was doing another film where she had a shaved head. So, and it's the main character, Sarah. Um, she did another film that's very dramatic, and let's just say with the more recent stuff, I'm not going to bring up what the topic is, but there was a reason she had a shaved head. Uh, if you want to look her up, she's the main character whose name is Sarah. She's a wonderful actress. I loved her in the other film that I'm talking about. And I didn't even know about the connection between them, but I was really happily surprised when I watched The Craft later after seeing the film that was done around the same time of 96 of it. Mind you, I was born in 90. So when I'm talking about finding these, I was probably 13, maybe 14. So they've been out a few years. So it was easier to find than people think. Like, I rented it from the... Oh my god, I'm going to date myself. I rented it from either Blockbuster or Family Video at the time and just watched them back to back on, VHS or DVD or whatever they were on at the time. Blu-ray. I even used to rent game systems. Yeah, and video games from Blockbuster and Family Video. My camera's trying to autofocus because of my lovely screen. And I do adore this. My boyfriend made me get it, and I love it. So back to the Witches ones. I'm going to have to say again, The Witches is a wonderful one to just watch if you want to watch any witch films. The Woods is a 2006 film. It is a school put in the very restricted area in these personally owned woods, where it's a school of girls only who are troubled youth, and they're all sent there because they have quote unquote problems to work through. And you come to realize the headmasters have more hidden than they want to admit to the parents of these troubled girls. And it's a good witch film. Go check it out. Another one is Drag Me to Hell, which I guess she's technically a witch. The old woman, she basically Drag Me to Hell is about this young girl who sells health. What was it? Works for the bank. Yeah, that's what it was. She worked for a bank, and this poor old woman had her house foreclosing on her, and she was asking for another extension. And mind you, this woman could have given her another extension. She had at least one left. And to prove to her bosses that she had a firm hand, she foreclosed on this poor woman's house. So the woman decided to curse her. And the girl got the ramifications of her actions of not caring about somebody else's well-being over trying to get a promotion. So yeah, you follow that young girl's journey on what's going to happen to her after the curse is put on her. Good luck and enjoy on that one, guys. Now, in 2006, there was a film called The Coven. It's based on a book that I read as a teen. And in the book, I have to say they go a little bit more, as every book would, in depth on the actual characters and what these witches are than the movie does. But it does do a nice job of portraying the story. I think it was always going to have an issue because even the first book leaves on a cliffhanging climax. So I don't think that a film that requires a sequel was ever going to do well at the box office, because when you require another one to finish your story, you have unsatisfied viewers sometimes. Because some people like to digest just a story and then be given another story. Like, they like completion. They like the beginning, middle, end, the whole shebang. They just want it in one sitting. And others don't, but some really do. And you might get where your target audience is just the ones that tune out as a result. So I think that happened a lot with The Coven, but it's a very nice film on its own. It doesn't have horrible CG, but I feel like it's going to very soon because it's going to be outdated. But it is still a 2006 film, so it's not as bad as others for its time. If you look at some 2006 films, you'll understand what I mean. Especially in horror. And then Dark Shadows, because even though technically Barnabas is a vampire in that, the main technically character, because Barnabas is buried for like 200 years, almost 300 years, is Angela, who is a witch. So that technically makes it a witch film too. Also a werewolf and Banshee, if you remember correctly. So yeah, if you want just some very Halloweeny vibes, go check out Dark Shadows too. But that is definitely one of my favorite witch themes because I just like Angela's character. Like, this woman was just not gonna be rejected, and yeah, she got her just desserts in the end. She literally tries to hand the man her heart, and he crushes it. Well, he doesn't crush it; he just lets it shatter. So like, she got her just desserts in the end, but she did not let anything stand in her way, and that's just a strong character in my opinion. So I guess I just I like that in that character. So my favorite demon films, I'm gonna start off with Constantine because he literally is an exorcist, and this entire series of it got more recently that television show, which is quite more than I expected it to be. I'm very glad that they're actually going into the comics of Constantine more than just like shoving it all together for a Hollywood style film, because like I honestly believe that Keanu probably would have dyed his hair blonde for that film. Like, we've seen him do some crazier stuff for films. He's quite a good actor. So I feel like he wouldn't have cared about being blonde versus brunette. Like, he still brought quite a presence to Constantine. From Hell is a Johnny Depp film that, if you just want to see another range of Johnny Depp, that's a great film to see. But it has to do with Jack the Ripper. So if you want to see a good film that's kind of about a conspiracy about Jack the Ripper, go check out From Hell. It's a good film, honestly. Hellraiser. I think you guys can tell from the factor that I have an entire series that I'm still working on reviews for. I'm a Hellraiser fan. So, of course, Hellraiser was going to be on my top demons film to suggest for Halloween. Spawn. I have such a love of Spawn. I think it's the nostalgia more than like quality of film, because looking back on the film, I adore the moment when his cape becomes almost like wings and takes him down gently and places him on the ground, and it's just this monstrous cape that just engulfs the room, but it's so horrible looking CG. But like at the time, I adored it. It was like this liquid cape that just flowed. Like, at the time, it was a wonderful, wonderful effect, but it just didn't age well. And there's just a lot of films that happened with. And I feel like Spawn is one that deserves to be redone. But the actor who did Spawn, I don't think is available to do it. So, yeah. Plus he's kind of like Candyman. You can't really have Candyman without Candyman. Candyman in general, I was gonna say he's kind of one of the, I don't know if I want to call him ghosts. He's more like a boogeyman. Like, I try to stay away from just the Freddys and the Jasons, and since Candyman just had that new, brand new film that came out, I didn't want to do Candyman either, even though, like, go watch Candyman, the original films, people. Especially if you've seen the new one and you skipped the old. I'm disappointed. Anyhow, Sinister. I had to say Sinister with demons. It's the factor that in the first one, It's this guy who buys this house because there's these murders that happened in it, and he tricks his family, and then all this stuff happens, and like the first one just takes you for a ride, and then the rest kind of just drag you under the bus for a minute. But the first one was the bus that hit you. Another one that honestly I don't think very many people remember this because this was a 2007 film, but The Reaping. That was a demon slash devil movie slash apocalyptic almost happening film that was so underrated for how wonderful it really was. It really was like a wonderful, wonderful film. My favorite devil ones are up next, guys. I'm gonna start it off with probably this should be just the easiest self-explanatory one, which is a movie called Devil. It takes place in an elevator where it's a bunch of strangers who essentially somebody's killing them slowly, each of them. And you're like stuck with these people that you just don't think that any of them are the culprit. None of them can be the culprit. That doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. And who it actually is in the end is gonna throw you. So enjoy Devil. Next one, excuse me, is The Devil's Advocate. I'm sorry, but the acting stars in The Devil's Advocate alone should just make you want to go check out the film. When you see who's in it, you'll understand what I mean. The level of quality to these actors are just shines so brightly through this film. The cinematography is beautiful. The costumes even feel so real that like you almost it's like American Psycho, which like I didn't really have a category for that because not in my opinion that's like the culty classic kind of film like the Freddy's and such. And honestly, I'm going to have a very unpopular opinion, but I liked Psycho 2. I thought her story, even though it was outlandish, was kind of wonderful because she was getting away with murder way better than he ever did. Like, he just lost his cookies and then went on a murdering spree towards the end. She got away with it. Like urban legends. She got away with it. So, yeah. Anyhow. The next one is The Ninth Gate, which is another Johnny Depp movie. I don't know what it is with me with Johnny Depp movies and Halloween, but I really love The Ninth Gate. It's about a person who specializes in restoring and certifying very old mint books. He also specializes in demon volumes, more demonic books he actually knows how to read because he knows how to read Latin, very dead form of Latin too. And he gets a hold of a book that's called The Ninth Gate. Well, at least he's trying to. He does, however, meet somebody who's very strange, who surprisingly helps and protects him more than he ever thought that they would. And he goes on a very crazed adventure where the ending will very much surprise you. So go watch Ninth Gate. It's not a new film, so I am not spoiling anything. I have given you a very loose-based, review on it, so just go enjoy that. My monster-themed ones. I have to say Cabin in the Woods is probably the best monster flick of my generation. Like, this film really changed how people looked at horror films because it basically sat and said, hey, you guys are these gods and you have opinions on what every horror film should have as a trope. They have to have the dumb blonde, they have to have the virgin, they have to have the idiot, they have to have the jock. We are the audience. We are the gods. We are these all powerful beings that can end the universe because we're unpleased. And it's so metaphorical and seriously just in your face at the same time. It's wonderful. So go check out Cabin in the Woods. It's totally worth it. It's a 2012 film. And just on its cinematography, like 5 stars all around. Amazing thing. Another one that's an amazing one, that's same reason, because I am a practical effects sucker, is The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. Even the remake of The Thing, which is technically a prequel. Ugh. The CG in that, I don't think will be dated for a while. It's done well enough that it still looks very realistic. It's not pushed too far. That's what I like about it. And of course, you can't have a monster theme without mentioning aliens. Like, who's not going to mention aliens? Or, like, okay, technically aliens, and then Aliens 3 I actually enjoyed. I know a lot of people are going to say that they didn't. I personally like 4 more than I like 3. I'm not very big on the whole prison story arc. I also don't like a majority of some of the scenes that are in it, especially a particular one. And if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going into detail of it. It's been years. You want to watch somebody's review on that, or if you want to see my review on it, sure, we'll deep dive. Let me know in the comments, but I am not touching that unless I have to, okay, guys? Because, woo! Did there happen some stuff in part 3 of Aliens? 4, I love for the factor that it was supposed to be where they, initially when they were supposed to have where Ripley was going to be cloned in part 4, spoilers for anybody. Again, this film is not a new film, guys. If you're not seeing these are on you. You can go watch these. You can pause my video, go watch it, and come back and hear my review of it. That's understandable. If you don't want to, here we go, kids. I think that they went in, even though, like, Joss Whedon has a hatred immensely for the film because of the fact he didn't get to do the one that he wanted. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on one second. I still think it's a wonderful film. I think he did a very good job with it. I think the acting worked with each other. I think Ellen Ripley showed... Sorry, let me rephrase it. I think the actress who plays Ellen Ripley in every single film shows why she is Ellen Ripley and why they needed to bring her back, and why, if they would have done the original story... Oh my goodness, I'm... Sorry, guys. Oh, sneezing. Dust. Anyhow. If they would have done the original story, which was supposed to be where they copied Newt. If you don't know who Newt is, Newt was a little girl in the sequel of Aliens 2. She was the last survivor of the, I guess the best way to put it was a colony that was supposed to be actually establishing themselves on the planet that the sequel takes place on. It was the original planet that Ripley and the crew found the eggs and had the entire events of the first film occur on. They went there anyways, even though with Ripley's broadcast being given, knowing what they did, they still sent people. And Newt was the last survivor of over 500. So, smart little girl. And they were going to basically clone her instead of Ellen Ripley in the 4th one. And they were going to tell the story of Newt being a very strong individual woman. I don't know if that would have actually went over well, because if you notice, they brought Ripley to the age of adulthood. Newt, on the other hand, was not an adult when she perished. She was a very young child. I don't want to actually say the age, because I think that they give her an age in the film and I don't remember it. but she was a very young child. So they would have had to progressively age her to the point of maturity, like they did Ripley, making her an entirely different character than anybody would have known. So it wouldn't have been able to even been the actress who played Newt coming as an adult and playing her so that it would at least look like the original character. So in my opinion, I don't think it would have worked. So that's why I'm kind of glad they went with the Ellen Ripley storyline. But this is getting away from me and taking too long on one. So I'm going to also say that another one of my favorite monster ones is Reanimator. Bride of Reanimator. And I think Return of Reanimator is the last one. All of them are H.P. Lovecraft based films where it is a man who basically creates a serum to bring people back from the dead. And in H.P. Lovecraft's films, he progressively just deals with the ramifications of his experimental works. And let's just say the main character, he is a phenomenal actor. Go watch his work. He's fantastic. He's done other work. And when you see who I'm talking about, you'll understand what I mean. He is worth every second of your time watching. Phenomenal actor. Go check him out. Gremlins, of course, I mentioned earlier, is probably my favorite of all monster films. Just because it's got, a soft spot in my heart for that little devil Gizmo. We're going to go to werewolves next of my favorites. Like I said earlier, Dark Shadows is technically one that has werewolves, werewolves, vampires, banshees, and witches all in it. So, yeah, that is one that, has multiple categories it falls in. But my favorite probably, done-wise, I have two of werewolf films that I love for their actual practical effects of transformations. One is a very feminine empowerment kind of a film, which is called Ginger Snaps. It has multiple sequels, and it is told in the viewpoint of women, and for once kind of strong women, where they're dealing with turning into a werewolf versus like American Werewolf in London, which is these, guys who are backpacking through London and get, bit by a werewolf, and the other one gets killed by his friend who got bit by a werewolf. So, like, that's another one. That's literally my two favorite, visual transformations of werewolves ever. And also, werewolves and American Werewolf in London is probably one of my favorite, besides Hellraiser, transformation scenes of all time. So also, I have to say, in comparison, Ginger Snaps has, not on par, but very wonderfully done, where even though it's parts of it are in shadow, it's purposeful to build up the suspense of seeing the creature finally in full form, and there's a moment where you get to, and it's just, those storylines, when you go through them, you get to have where you watch one of the films and it's completed in its entirety. But if you watch the other ones, it builds on the lore. So that's kind of a difference from other ones where you can almost watch them alone and still get fully the story from start to finish and not have a problem. Like, you could watch part 1, you could watch part 2, you could watch part 3, all separate from each other, and you'd still have a completion of a story. So that's kind of cool of Ginger Snaps. The Howling, I think everybody has to watch The Howling if you're going to watch a werewolf movie. It's common sense. Silver Bullet is one from Stephen King that I don't think very many people have watched. It's a 80s film, and it very much shows it, but it is so wonderful of a story. It's told in the eyes of a young man who's in a wheelchair, so you are terrified for him from this creature that can literally tear him to pieces, and he is trying to take down a creature that is terrorizing an entire town by himself, and he gains some allies along the way, but it is a crazy journey that that story takes you on. So go check out The Silver Bullet. It's one of it's like Thinner. It's just one of Steven's where it's harder to find, but at the same time it's really worth finding. Also, go check out Thinner. That one's not going to be one that's in a normal category because of what it's actually about. It's a gypsy curse on a man who runs over a gypsy woman and gets away with the crime thanks to corrupt people in the judicial system that he's also a part of because he's a lawyer. So he gets cursed along with a couple other of his, cohorts who helped him get away with the crime by gypsies. And his curse is to get thinner. Now, keep in mind, he is a very obese man. He does not care about being obese. He'd actually rather die than stop being obese. So everything this man gets on his journey, you kind of almost don't feel sorry for him. Till the very end. And then the end is going to throw you for a loop. So go check out Thinner as well. I know it's a random one, but it is a wonderful Stephen King film. After that, we're going to talk about Trick or Treat. Because I have to say, Trick or Treat has got so many good things in it. It's got 4 anthology films, I guess is the best way to put it, where they all technically intertwine with each other, but you're going to be surprised in how they do intertwine with each other. And yes, it has werewolves. Yes, it has zombies. Yes, it has ghosts. Yes, it has so much thrill that you should just go watch it. It's a wonderful one to enjoy, especially on Halloween night. I would personally suggest saving it for a Halloween night because it gives you those Halloween vibes, especially if you're a lot like a lot of us where you might be staying just in for the holiday and watching some good old films with some hot chocolate or whatever you're going to do. Some of y'all might be just drinking. Hey, enjoy yourself. Have a good holiday. Be safe. That's all that matters. Anyhow, that is a good one to watch on Halloween is Trick or Treat. Teen Wolf is probably one of my favorite ones, and I'm talking about the one with Michael J. Fox. Though the TV show is apparently pretty good, I haven't personally watched it. I kind of like the one, like I said, with Michael J. Fox far more, even though the story arc for Teen Wolf, the TV show, is not a bad one at all. I personally just haven't watched the episodes. Now we'll go on to zombie horror films. Now I'm going to go ahead and say the one that everybody should say, which is Night of the Living Dead. The one that technically started it all for what we know today as zombie films. Even though technically, if you want to get real, White Zombie is a great film to start on. It is a black and white film. It does draw on quite a little bit, but it also, if you really want to see how zombie films started out, that is technically where you should start. So after that, you should go to Dawn of the Dead, and then Day of the Dead, Return of the Dead, all those classic, of the deads. Walking Dead is another great one to start to finish that you could do for the spooky month or for the last couple of days, since more than likely this will be going up only a few days before Halloween because I'm lazy and I should have done more, and I'm sorry, guys. I was just working too much for my own good. Reanimator, which I told you guys why that is because he is working on a serum to bring the dead back. He does have, as you can guess, some success by the factor that he has 2 sequels. Wonderful film, check them out. Bride of Reanimator and Return of Reanimator. Awesome films. 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. Go check out those because those are just awesome, but they're a different kind of zombie virus. I guess they're rage virus is a better way to put it. But it's just a different look on a zombie style film, which is fantastic. Shaun of the Dead, because every now and then you need a good laugh with your zombies, okay, guys? Every now and then you need a break from the screams. Go watch Shaun of the Dead for a good laugh, and you know what? Anytime that the boys do something that makes you laugh, take a drink. If you want to do a drinking game. There's multiple options with that. If anybody who's wondering, no, there's not somebody behind me, it's just my hat on the wall. I got freaked out myself a little bit ago and thought that there was somebody behind my chair. Zombieland 1 and 2, which I was very pleasantly surprised considering the gap in age from one to the other film, how good both films really are. And like they're just a wonderful little, film to just enjoy of zombies. It's kind of a fun whimsical way of looking at the films like of zombies with the rules and everything, and just go enjoy. It's also heartwarming on the stories on both of them. Uh, okay, so this one has two titles: Dead Alive or Brain Dead. Which, if you guys are wondering, the guy who did Lord of the Rings did this film and did the most amount of blood in a single scene ever in history, at least supposedly. And it's a rebirth scene. Go check that one out. I'm not giving you any more than that because that is enough. No, there's also a scene with I believe it was lawnmower and a room of zombies. Go check it out, guys. Brain Dead or Dead Alive. Both of them are the exact same title. One is just the where it was put out in the country, and then the other is the American version, which we know it as Dead Alive. You'll be able to find it as Dead Alive in America. Planet Terror, which I don't know if many people know this, but that was one of the, I believe, 8 films to die for. Death Proof was another one of that series and a couple other ones. But Planet Terror was just... There's literally a scene where somebody's gets infected and let's just say his member falls off and he deserves it. And like when you see the scene, you actually are like, serves you right. And like, how do you have a zombie film where, like, a woman has her leg amputated and a gun fused to it so that she's better at shooting? People are so good at killing zombies that one man's known for never missing. Like, it's a crazy film. It's just filmed in a fun way. And if you haven't seen any of the 8 films to die for, they are a really good set of horror films to check out too. There was more than one series. I believe there was at least 2. And a lot of the films are fantastic. Some are better than others. But I think that's also like the ABCs of death. Whereas, the first film, in my opinion, there were certain ones that were better than others. And then when they got to the second one, there was definitely more directors who knew what they were doing with the concept of the short films than others. But there were still wonderful ones that were in there. So, yeah, check those out. Okay. My next one for a zombie film. Now, technically, this is a hoodoo zombie. So, take it as you will. It's called Serpent in the Rainbow. Now, this is a late 80s film. I will tell you guys this. It is going to terrify you. It's going to make you claustrophobic. It's going to make you fear being buried alive. It's going to have a lot of triggers for anybody. It is not a easy to digest film, but it is a truly going to make you sit on the edge of your seat film. The next one is Dead Girl, which is a more modern film. This one I have to pre-warn that it has some harsh topics in it. And if you do not want to deal with triggering topics, this is probably one to avoid. I'm just going to leave it at that because they are so severe that demonetization would be possible very quickly if I went into detail on that without just taking and saying, yeah, I'm never going to have ads on my channel. Zombies. Now, that's a 2007 film that's kind of told in a really cool way. So you don't realize it at first, but it's told in the view of zombies. They don't realize that they're zombies, and they're going around terrorizing human beings, thinking that they're normal and that there's something wrong with everybody else because all they're doing is running in terror and acting terrified for no reason. So they have no idea why all these people are running from them, but they're literally the Walking Dead. So you want to check out a film that's going to make you laugh, question what's reality, question who's actually right. Are they really the zombies, or are they really humans? Are the humans really zombies? Go enjoy it. Zombies. So the next one are revenge-themed horror films that I've enjoyed myself, which this first one, revenge usually requires some pretty triggering, I guess, I'm just going to keep using that word, topics. So this entire section, if you don't like those kind of things, probably don't watch these films. I'm just going to go over them because they are a genre, and I felt like they should just be spoke upon because there are quite a few films that have to do with revenge in horror, which we'll start off with I Spit on Your Grave. It's gotten done, I believe. Yeah, there's even a sequel to it where they redid the first one and then they redid the second one. But the second one redone is based loosely on the first one entirely story and not actually the sequel, like the original film. But I Spit on Your Grave has a lot of harsh topics that just are pretty crazy, and the entire experience that poor woman undergoes, those men deserved what they got. Death Becomes Her. I love this revenge film because these two women try so hard to become basically immortal that they are willing to be undead things. They literally cannot die, even though they break their necks, they have things blow holes in them, they fall to pieces at one point, and they're so vain, they're not willing to give up their immortality to just realize life's too short. And so it's a really good one, but Death Becomes Her is definitely more of a comedy than a horror, but it's just fun because it deals with some darker themes like death and revenge. Valentine. This is a 2001 film. And this one is kind of a more mind suspense where I'm not going to give away very much besides the factor that there is a killer who is killing around the time of Valentine's Day, and it is killing a group of friends for a very specific reason that they've brought upon themselves. And in the end, they have nobody but themselves to blame. There you are. Next one, May, which is a psychological one. Go check it out. I am not spoiling anything on these. Carrie, because why wouldn't you put Carrie on a revenge list? Audition. Audition is a Japanese film. I am not going to spoil a single thing for you besides the factor of wonder what's in the bag. If you want to find out what I'm talking about, go check out Audition. The Crow, because a man who comes back from the dead to avenge his death and his girlfriend's death on Halloween, that's not enough of a revenge theme? Come on, guys. And I have to say, I like the original Crow for its story. I think the other ones had the same concept, but when you try to push so many people who are able to come back as this creature, it takes away from the importance of it. Like, if the Crow can bring back anybody, shouldn't it be, bring back a bunch of people who were murdered? Just saying. Another great revenge horror, I wouldn't say horror, but it's definitely more of a psychological one that can give you the spookies for Halloween, is Hard Candy. If you want to know what that one is, go check it out. Go read a review. It's just one that definitely would give you the spooks during Halloween. So, the next theme is hauntings. And I'm going to start off with probably one of my favorites, which is The Haunting of Hill House. I love the original, really old film. I love the more modern in the 90s. I also really love the TV series. But the whole thing with that entire series, that is the best part of all of it is the house has its own identity. Like, that's just something that you see in very few films. Like, another great one is Rose Red, again by Stephen King. I'm a very big Stephen King fan, and I think a lot of his films that have been turned into film adaptations don't get the justice that they really deserve. Kitten, this is Lily. Say hi, Lily. Down you go, baby. Okay. So yeah, the next one in the category of hauntings is the Amityville Horror, because yeah, why wouldn't we have Amityville Horror on there? But I'm going to mention again Stir Up Echoes, because it is a great haunting film. Haunting in Connecticut is another great one. Ghost Ship. Crimson Peak, which actually came out in 2015. That one is probably the only one I will say in more recent time that threw me for a loop, but at the same time was also very in my face, where I should have seen it. Like, watching it again, I was like, really? Why didn't I notice that? But and I haven't had that in a while, so that was kind of a nice little change of pace. One that's, and I'm going to say is another trigger warning on this because of the subjects that it is An American Haunting, which was a 2005 film, just because of the subject that part of it has to do with, and the ending conclusion. Just go in it knowing that it's got some harsh topics, okay? And then 1408, that's probably one of my favorite like haunted hotel kind of, besides like The Shining, like I already mentioned. But like 1408 is just, I like the idea that this room controls its own time. And like, that was just an interesting story, I guess, in my opinion. 13 Ghosts and Flatliners are at least for my haunting films. Flatliners, if you don't know why it's haunting, go watch Flatliners of the original. I know that they came out with a reboot of it, I guess is the best way to put it. They redid it more recently. I don't dislike the acting on it. I just think that the original one has a little bit more hardy, creepy sensations to it because of how it's filmed. It's got more gritty feel. Go check out that one and then compare it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You can always, have one like over another, and there's nothing wrong with it. We're also going to talk about next the plot twist favorites. Okay, so these are going to be ones that the reason why they were so different to me was there's something in these films that plot-wise just throws you for a loop that you weren't expecting. The first one up is You're Next. If you've seen You're Next, you understand why. That is a very, very great plot twist. I love the change of it. I'm not spoiling anything. Go see it because it's one of those films you gotta go watch. Go watch it. The others, if you've watched it, just, the plot twist. The Uninvited. Again, the plot twist on that one, I'm not going to spoil any of these because, it's the whole film in a nutshell. It's the reason why you're going to watch it, trust me. The Orphan. The Orphan's based on a true story, by the way. Just so everybody knows, that really happened. There really was a person who did that and got away with it and is still technically at large. Yeah. She got away with it. Anyhow, Secret Window. The plot twist on that, ooh, and Johnny Depp, I'm sorry, you all can hate on me for this, but the way he did crazy in that one, my man. So next we go to cult classics, because we're gonna talk about the cult classics before we get this done. Why wouldn't we? We're gonna go ahead and say the Saw series, because let's say, what, why aren't you gonna watch, Halloween movies with Saw in it? You know you wanna. You want that blood, guts, and gore. Which is why you're also gonna watch Jinyu or The Grudge, which was a 2002 for the more recent one with Sarah Michelle Gellar. But there's also an older one that's actually the Japanese original. I personally think you should always watch the originals, even if they're in another language. It's called subtitles. You can handle it. It is not hard to read, guys. It's also really great to watch it because you see it's in its original state, how the actors are really are supposed to sound and act. So it's kind of like with anime sometimes, dub is nice, but sub sometimes is the way to go. Just my opinion. Next, The Curse of the Blair Witch. I'm going to have where people are going to hate me for this. Again, these are cult classics, which means they didn't necessarily do good in the box office when they first came out, but they became popular because of how much they were loved by a large group of people who just felt the same about it. So, Event Horizon. It's a portal to hell, guys. Go watch this film. It is crazy. I gave you nothing really away of this story besides just a bare minimum. Lord, go watch Event Horizon. That film is crazy in a nutshell. It'll change your life in so many ways. 5 Dark Souls. Just go watch it. Not spoiling it. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Still got cult classics. Still has people doing, those showings where I forget what they're called. Basically, you shout certain things with the movie, and I forget what it's called. But if you remember in the comments, please let me know. I can't remember right now, and I'm drawing a blank. But I've been part of one. They're fun. They're hilarious, and honest truth. Some of the stuff you get to say during it is fun. Psycho, because you can't have a Halloween list without at least, one of the cult classics of original. We're also going to throw in the Jasons, the Freddys, the Aliens, the Candymans, Tremors. Does anybody remember Tremors? I know it's like a more late 80s, early 90s thing, but Tremors was such a good movie. I don't care what people say. The monster can look dumb. I don't care. They still were good. I love Tremors. Hate me. I don't care. Anyhow, now we'll go to sad love story themes. Now, I did this purposely because there's sometimes where horror films, you just get where sadness is kind of part of horror. It's one of those themes that you just feel right along with it. And these are the films that, in my opinion, had a sad theme when you really think about it. We'll go for the first one. Let the Right One In, which actually is a French film originally by the same name. It is basically about a little girl. Well, actually, the main character is supposed to be a little boy. And he lives in an apartment complex. And this new neighbor that's a little girl and her dad move in. And he starts to befriend this girl. And he has where, basically, through a lot of stuff, he comes to find out the dark secret that she is hiding and the truth about her. It's one of those films that has a kind of sad ending when you watch it because you know what's going to happen and you feel for the character, but at the same time, the character has chosen what they've chosen. So, it is a sad love story, but this character picked what they picked. Beetlejuice. The sad love story in that one, and why I bring it up as a sad love story, is the main two characters who haunt the house to start with, who actually conjure Beetlejuice. They were killed while trying to go to town and died on a bridge. And they are trapped inside of this house. And the reason why it's a sad love story is because the reason why they want to adopt Lydia, the main character that we follow through most of the story, is because they couldn't have children of their own. And They want to raise her so that she's a good person, like good parents would want to. So their story is sad in the aspect that they didn't get to have that, but it's lovely that they get to have Lydia, and Lydia gets to have them. So, even though technically Beetlejuice, it doesn't get looked at the way it should, it is technically a sad love story. So keep that in mind, guys. Bram Stoker's Dracula, because why isn't a man who waits centuries for this woman to get reincarnated, only for her to fall in love with another man, and then have these people who are hunters go after him after waiting centuries, only to have where he has to kill himself? And if you don't know the story of Dracula, I'm sorry, but this is your own fault. Kill himself in order to release her from the curse that he's had for centuries to save her eternal soul. If that doesn't scream sad love story, you have problems. Anyhow, on to the next, Edward Scissorhands, because a man with scissor hands doesn't have a sad love story when he falls in love with a beautiful girl. Sorry, guys, that's a sad love story, but hey, it's also a wonderful horror story. Well, not really horror. Yeah, it is a horror story, because Edward goes through so many things in that movie. Poor thing. Poor thing. Especially the ending. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Poor Edward. Poor Edward. The Fly. Literally, man falls in love with news reporter who is going to tell his story of finding a way to do a teleporter. He had a teleportation machine, and all because he didn't do where he took into account that a fly's DNA would get inside the machine at the same time. He ends up turning into a human fly. Human Fly. And big spoilers, there's a sequel to it where, biggest spoiler of the whole thing, main character who falls in love with said, reporter, she ends up pregnant with his fly baby. Yep. And in the sequel, I'm going to spoil the sequel. She dies giving birth to said baby because she has a heart attack because it's born in a cocoon, but only after she dies, splits open and reveals a human baby who just ages at a very high pace. There's the story premises of number 2. Didn't really give you very much of the story besides the first 5 minutes. So if you still want to see the sequel to The Fly, which you probably didn't even know existed, go check out that film. It does give you the entire story of Brennan's son and what ends up happening in the Fly franchise. So go enjoy. And then the last one of our sad love stories is Rosemary's Baby. This woman just wanted to have a baby with her husband and then gets forced to have a baby with the devil. If that's not a sad love story, she's made to think she goes insane. How wrong is that? Don't you? You are such a clumsy cat. Anyhow, now we're going to do funny ones just because I felt like you needed to after the sad ones, which is Happy Death Day. If you can't find humor in a film where multiple times this character dies repetitively over and over again until she catches her own killer. There's even a sequel, guys, and it has to do with time travel. So, go check out both. They're kind of worth a good laugh and a good watch, so go enjoy those for Halloween. Next one, Scary Movie. All of them. Although some of them are better than others. Personally, my favorite is the original of Scary Movie because I am partial to Scream and all those other ones, which I would have mentioned in the cult classics. But again, I was trying to steer away from the Freddy to Jasons, the Michael Myers, the Candymans, all of those. Because you're going to watch those on your own, okay? I'm trying to give you the ones that you aren't thinking about and the ones that are, in your brain right away. So this is just your helpful hint of movie playlist to just watch and enjoy and hear my ramble. Shaun of the Dead again, because Shaun of the Dead. A Haunted House, which came out more recently. There's a sequel to that one as well. I love the Wayans brothers. Just go watch a lot of their stuff. They're funny in general. Slither, because it is actually funny for as terrifying as it is. Go check out Slither. It's just kind of a good body horror film, too. Let's see. The next one is Little Shop of Horrors, because what kind of horror movie has a musical to it and still is terrifying? Little Shop of Horrors. Feed me, Clarice, feed me. Anyhow, Fright Night 1 and 2. I know I'm going to get slack for liking part 2, but I like when you get to have a story actually completed, which you do. You get to end up knowing what happened and what happens to Brewster. I kind of like that. Sorry, guys. I'm a completionist. I like watching series. And that actually had more than one. And the final one of the funny ones you should watch for this Halloween is Young Frankenstein. Because who wouldn't like to watch Gene Wilder go crazy as Frankenstein? Honestly, very funny movie. Seriously, go check him out. Gene Wilder was amazing when he was younger, too. Anyhow, now we do the teen theme. And if you know what I mean by that, it is all of the films that have teens as the base of the entire thing. Like, for example, Nightmare on Elm Street, where a bunch of teens are stalked and killed. Scream, where a bunch of teens are stalked and killed. I Know What You Did Last Summer, or you get my point. Halloween. Final Destination. Hellraiser, because, of course, I'm going to keep mentioning it. Candyman, new and old. Please do check both. Urban Legend, 1 and 2 and 3, and actually I believe now there's a 4th, which kind of is crummy. But hey, if you like me, again, completionist, you're going to watch all 4 of them, and you're going to do it even though you don't like them. I just do it. It's besides the point. Anyhow, Donnie Darko, because, you know, you got how many days? Anyhow, if you don't like Donnie Darko for how crazed that film is in general, what are you doing? Like, go watch Donnie Darko, for real. Cherry Falls. Now, that's a teen slasher that I don't think very many people are going to even remember. It was from the 90s. But basically, it was a film where all these teens were getting killed if they were virgins. So they were all going around and trying to get their cherries popped. Hence the term, the joke where it became Cherry Falls. So basically, this killer is going around killing teens because they're virgins. So go check it out. It's kind of got a crazy twist in it that I would have put in for the plot twist ones, but this is definitely more of a teen film. If you understand why I did it, you'll understand. Cabin Fever, because they kind of were all teenage, college age. Like, they were only, I think, like 21, 22 at the most. So, like, they were just past the teenage, if you know what I mean. And it's still the campy teenage vibe of going into the woods and having bad stuff happen to them. So, Cabin Fever, it's going to be on there. Sorry, guys. Especially since the sequel had where they were in a high school during a prom. Yeah. Anyhow, The Faculty, because aliens taking over the planet using a school as the way to do it. I didn't give you anything. You can still watch that film and totally enjoy it. That was on the back of the box. Okay. Anyhow, The Killer, like the normal killer films. And what I mean by that is psychologically, people doing it. We'll just go into the first one. Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, those Red Dragon, all of those films. I can't remember the newest ones, and then even the television show Hannibal. All of those are more of a person killer, so that's why I'm putting the category normal. Wolf Creek from 2005, where it, Lord, if you know that story. Goodness. If you don't, go watch it. American Psycho. Because, yeah. American Psycho. 7. Because what's in the box? Okay, I'm done. I Saw the Devil, which actually was originally a Japanese film. Redone in 2010. I'm just going to say this. Go watch it. Because that one is I Saw the Devil on so many levels. Like, it's not about the devil. I will tell you that right now. It is not about the devil whatsoever. It is a revenge story more than it is anything else, but it is a normal human being that is the killer. That's all I'll tell you. Taking Lives, literally a film that if you watch it, it's going to get you at the end where you're not going to see the end coming. It was a 2004 film, and it is very good with Angelina Jolie. And then finally, of course, Saw, because John Kramer was just a human. Supernatural Killers are the next one, and we have to point out Candyman, because he just had a new film come out. Tooth Fairy, which that was a psychological thriller that came out, I believe, late 90s. Do not have it written down for that one. Upsetting. Jeepers Creepers, because every 23 years for 23 days it gets to eat. Hatchet, because, he is only trapped on that island. VHS, because just the factor of how it's done. The Child's Play series, the Pumpkinhead series, Leprechaun, and Frighteners are my supernatural killer tops. Supernatural beings, which you'll understand what I mean when I say that. Evil Dead with the Deadites, The Babadook, Dead Silence, The Unborn, I Am Legend, Case 39, Cursed, The Mimic series, The Mothman Prophecies, Splice, the Wishmaster series, which, let me just say, Wishmaster, I've adored that series for so long. And I almost wanted to put it in the funny, because there are so many moments that are hilarious in this film, and all of the films in Honest Truth. But it deserves the supernatural being category, because it is technically a demon / I guess God. As Above, So Below. That deals with the Philosopher's Stone and Dante's Inferno, or at least the idea of Dante's Inferno. The Lazarus Effect. If you know what Lazarus is, it was a person who lived for a very long time, and basically this film is some scientists experimenting and finding immortality, or at least that's what they think. Alrighty, and then I'm going to do a couple of quick ones, and that is the last categories of doll, romance, and I believe I'm going to just go over probably my last favorite ones of just saying what ones I think I have to watch personally myself. So we're going to go ahead and do the doll ones, which is Child's Play, of course, is my top one. Annabelle wasn't a very bad film, in my opinion. It's just, I don't like doll films as much, because Doll Master was a better film, in my opinion, than Annabelle was. Saw, we have to just mention for the Jigsaw puppet. Honorable mention on that one. Dead Silence. If you know The Stare of Mary Shaw, you understand entirely what I mean. The Boy, which came out in 2016. And then the reason I'm going to say Child's Play and then the new Chucky series are entirely different, in my opinion, is because when you start to get into the newer ones like Cult, I think that was the last one, and then the newest one that's coming out, they're definitely a little bit different than the original ones, because in this one, Chucky, the last couple ones, Chucky isn't constricted to just his doll anymore. In the original ones, when Chucky's doll gets butchered, Chucky's done. So, in this new one, he basically can just be everywhere. So, it's very different in that aspect. So that was a different way where I think that the Chucky films that are coming out now are far different in the doll category than the originals were. But I love them all the same. My last one is the romance theme. And I had a hard time finding ones on those, just because romance and horror aren't something that usually go together very commonly. But it is what it is. So I found the ones that I could for you guys, which is Sleepy Hollow is my first one. And it's because there is a love story that blooms in it and does end with a happy note. And considering the story of Sleepy Hollow, that's actually a surprise. Crimson Peak, because even though not all romances end in happiness, there is a very beautiful romance that goes on in that one. Horns, because even though endings, like I just said, don't always end happy, doesn't mean that they aren't beautiful love stories within tragedy and horror. I don't think Horns was as much of a horror film. I feel like it was more of like horror themes with a little bit psychological thrown in there because of the topics, but it was something that I feel like you do need to watch because it is a good film. Warm Bodies, which I think is probably the most sappiest that I'm going to talk about of romance. Nightmare Before Christmas, because Jack and Sally do end up falling in love at the end. The Crow, because it is about two lovers who had their lives tragically taken. And Queen of the Damned, because even though Queen of the Damned has where Lestat doesn't think he's going to find anybody to ever be with him, he does end up finding Jessie, and they do walk off into eternity together. So, I guess, in my personal opinion, my favorite horror movies for the most part are like the classic ones that you see every Halloween that'll be playing and, will always be on. But I also really love to check out some off-the-wall kind of horror movies too for Halloween. There's a good one called Poltergeist. That is another great comedy one if you want to just have some good laughs with some zombies slash mutant chickens. And I don't know. I guess for when it comes to horror, guys, there's many categories that you can go and watch for this Halloween. If you have your own favorites, I would be just that nitpicky person and go through them individually and find which ones you love. Because if you want my personal opinion, you want the scariest film you could watch this Halloween that might scare you, I might suggest Suspiria, which is an older film that more recently got redone and is so wonderful in it. And in that film, there's so wonderful of like actual CG mixed with prosthetics that you might love that. Or you might want to go watch something that is a little bit more happy-go-lucky, like Gremlins, like what I'm wearing on my shirt, where, or you might have where you have little ones and, like I said, Halloween Town is more up your alley. Or if you want to show them the history of Halloween, the Halloween Tree. Those are my personal, favorites that I had where, I guess for me, I used to enjoy watching films that I had watched as a kid and grew up with, all these films on Disney Channel, for example, that would only be out on Halloween, that were small budget films that maybe only had $1 million for its entire production. So they weren't very huge, done films, but they were still wonderful stories. Some of them I can't remember their names, but now that Disney Plus has the availability of those films, go check them out, because some of the films in the 90s are a little bit spookier than I think a lot of us realized. So now that you're an adult, if you are a 90s baby, go check those out, because you might feel a little bit more nostalgia than you think you will. For the 80s babies that made us wonderfully aware of how, blood, guts, and gore actually is in horror films, we thank you as well. For us 90s children, trust me. I loved, the Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, stuff like that. I used to write short stories. I even had where for one Halloween I won a competition where I was the haunted mask from Goosebumps. from the same name, Haunted Mask, where I had on the actual mask, and then I had my mom make me a Carly Beth head. And I went and I won a costume contest, and I won a best story contest. And, like, Halloween is about enjoying the little things like that. Like going out to a pumpkin patch and having apple cider and donuts. And personally, I'm a weirdo and I enjoy cold cider over hot cider. I just don't like overly sweet hot items. I don't like, I'm going to sound so weird, I don't like hot chocolate hot. I'm also not a coffee drinker that's hot either. I have iced coffee in the middle of winter. I am a weirdo. So, whatever you want to do for your Halloween, if you want to go get you a pumpkin spice latte and sit down with Hocus Pocus and a bunch of cookies, go do that, girl. Or if you want to go watch every slasher that was ever made from the 80s until now, go enjoy your Halloween. Have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe. Stay spooky. And as always, my wonderful audience, I love you. And until the next one, this is Voodoo Doll signing out. Happy Halloween. I love you all. Good night. Mwah.